Hello, all you beautiful, curious creatures. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we are going to be doing a plank flow, which is exactly what it sounds like. We will spend some time breaking down each individual movement. The plank variations will progress in challenge as we go along, so I'll be sure to give you some options or recommendations for modifications. But I really encourage you to experiment with your own modifications at home so that all of this really becomes yours and is suiting exactly what you need in this moment, and it can change every time you choose to come back and do this workout. If you are enjoying this, please make sure you like it down below, and if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that so you can keep getting the content as it comes out. And if you are interested in trying out a full flow class or just a regular Pilates class as well, then the link to sign up to my Zoom classes is in the description just below that. Okay, so we are going to get started. We're going to begin in a 4-point kneeling position. So stacking shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, tucking the toes, stabilizing a neutral spine so that the hip bones, the shoulder blades all remain flat to the floor, and then exhaling to hover the knees only about an inch off, making sure that the collarbones are wide while we're keeping the shoulder blades pressed and stable onto the back of the rib cage. Always important here in a plank. Active little press into the fingertips and feeling how that strengthens around the wrists so that we spend some time here and we're not loading into the joint. All right, our torso is going to remain frozen in space, so we're placing a tray of very full drinks onto our back, and we're not allowed to spill a single drop as we begin to walk the legs out and in. Try to remember to alternate leading with your right and your left, and here's where we're avoiding any shifting, any twisting of the torso, any front and back action. Feeling the hinging happen at the hips so the tailbone remains long and pointed out behind. Yeah, so variation number 1, we're doing all right. We're gonna do 2 to 3 more, trying to make sure you finish evenly both sides. So I started with my right leg, I'll make sure I finish with my left. So this will be last side. And then when it makes sense, let's walk the legs back in under, releasing the knees, release the toes. Releasing the hips back over the heels, and take a moment in a shell stretch before we continue into our next variation. Couple deep breaths, allowing for that separation of the shoulder blades as the inhale expands upwards. Right now, let the belly drop, let the belly go. All right, last full breath here, using the exhale to roll you back up. Bring some movement into the spine. And then we're going to step back up. We'll transition into the next part. So shoulders over wrists, we're tucking the toes to come back into our hover. You're going to walk the legs out. Again, we're just going to walk through the transition. Back in, and then the right leg only will step back out. So we're going to stop with the left. Instead, the left leg is going to exhale, pull up into the shoulder, foot into the sit bone, and then exhale, pressing through the heel, lengthening the spine back to the neutral line as we continue the leg to line up with the torso. Inhale, pull the leg back into the chest, pressing the floor away. Exhale to press, lengthening out to a neutral line. Pull to inhale, flow up and in. Press to exhale, lengthen it out. Good, 2 more on this side. Inhale in. Exhale, press out. Last one. Good. Bring that leg back in underneath. Let's walk the right leg in. We're not going to take a rest just yet. Left leg walks out. Same thing on the right. We'll inhale to press up. Exhale, pressing through the heel. Connect the rib cage. Make sure we're not dropping into the low back. Inhaling up. Exhale to the long line. Double check the neckline. Keeping it long and stable. Open collarbones. We have 2 more. Last one here. Good. For now, let's lower the foot. This time, sending the sit bones to the ceiling, the heels to the floor. Take a moment to catch your breath in an inverted V. Feel free to walk it out. Add any little twists that feel right for you. Opening up the shoulders, but safely. Being mindful of the back and the neck. All right. When you're ready, coming back to a long plank, shoulders over wrists. And then we're going to float that left foot up where it would have landed after our last variation. Pulling the knee in, but keeping the hinge at the hip this time so the spine remains straight. Adding a twist or spiral to inhale the knee across, then exhale, square off the hips, but continue to open the knee out to the side. Inhale to bring it across. Exhale to open. Here, I'm going to give you your next option. See if you can start to fully reach and extend that leg. It becomes a lot harder. Inhale, carry it across. Exhale, maybe just the thigh or maybe a full reach. One more here. And out. Bringing the leg back in, lowering the knees. Again, we'll take a shell stretch before we go into our last variation on this first side. And then we got to break it all down on the second side. Couple breaths, letting the low back open up, really melting into the creases and the folds of the body. Let it all go. Take your deep breaths. Last full breath, using the exhale to roll us back up. All right, repeating that last one more time to take us into the transition of our final one. This final one, you're going to keep the option of having either the bent or the straight leg for this next variation. Okay, so we are coming back to the plank. Right now we're working with the left leg, or I'm working with the left leg. Keep working with your same leg. We have the inhale to carry the thigh across, rotating the pelvis, but the shoulders stay square. Exhale to return the hips, open the knee, maybe the leg. From here, lifting up to inhale, try to create as big a rainbow shape with the leg as you can to land and crease back into the hip. Then here, the hand is going to return where it just did, pressing through that back foot to then land the knee, center, directly underneath your hips so that we can stack and take a nice inhale breath. Here you get a little breather. Returning back around, then we can repeat. So if you're taking the straight leg, we return the hip, reach through the toes, keep it circling up and over. Creasing to land into the hip. Use the back foot to press as you land the hand shoulder distance, wrapping the knee under, this time to land, sweeping the fingertips all the way. If you're working with the bent leg, here, same idea, but instead of releasing the foot, we just take the knee and land the foot directly. Only difference in this transition or new variation. Good. Two more, whichever variation of the leg you're doing, either that bent leg or the straight. Last time. Good. To come back to center, just releasing the arm, bringing the shoulders to square off, releasing the leg back to parallel to step the toe. We would walk that right leg back in underneath. For now, going back to the shell stretch unless you want to send the sit bones up back into a V, in which case, feel free to make your own choices. Couple breaths from wherever you are. Feel free to add any extra little wiggles and movements that just feel good. And then we're going to do the second side. I will flip my facing so I'm still facing you. You're welcome to stay as you are. All right, so Coming back to the 4-point kneeling, we're going to this time start with the left leg walking out, back in, and then left leg only walks out, and the right leg this time hugs up and into the chest. Pressing through the heel to exhale to a long neutral line from crown of head to heel of foot. Then inhale, press to pull it all back in. Another 3. And in. 2. And in. Last one. And in. To press. Again, this time let's take that V, sending the sit bones to the ceiling, heels to the floor. Couple breaths before we go into our next variation. Coming back to the plank, setting up shoulders, fingertips are active, collarbones wide, nice and stable. That leg will float back up to where it just was. From here, hinging the leg in but keeping the spine neutral. To then inhale, rotate the pelvis to spiral the spine. Exhale, square off the hips and open the knee. Doing a couple with just the thigh to really feel the rotation of waistline contrasted by the isolation into the hip. When you're ready, adding the full reach of the leg. Pulling it in. Inhaling across. Exhale to open and reach. Pull it back in. One more from wherever you are. Good. Bringing it in, lowering the knees down, taking a shell stretch, little breather before we go into the last one on this side. Again, nice full breaths. One more full inhale, exhaling to roll the body back up, shaking out all the tension. Last variation on the second side before we start linking it all together. All right, so we are in our full plank, stable and strong. The leg has just pulled in to come across the body and either fully reach out or just to the thigh. From where you are, doing a nice big circle of the leg, hopefully, all the way up and over to land, creasing into the hip, but you don't get to sit down. We place the hand back to the shoulder distance, wrapping the knee to place, center, lining up with the body to inhale, stretch it out. Releasing the top arm, fingertips, to come back to the shoulder distance, pulling the leg either through the straight line, once again, back into the spiral, to return across, landing the knee, taking the inhale sweep, remembering you can keep the leg bent if you prefer to take away some of the load, wrapping the toe in and landing directly to the floor. The rest remains the same. Taking as much time as you need, keep checking into the neckline so that we're stabilizing as we're strengthening. We're going to do one more after this one. If you're getting more comfortable with it, again, see if you can do that straight leg. Last time to take that side bend. Nice big breath. Enjoy that moment. We've lengthened the fingertips as if we're going again to square off that bottom leg, tucking the toes. We'd walk back in, ready to repeat. For now, take a breather either in your shell stretch. If you want, pop back up into the V or anything else. If you need to do some wrist stretches, adding in maybe a couple of those, just some options. Okay, so here we go, ready to add it all together. Are you excited? So we're gonna do it twice through either side. First time I will do the bent leg variation. Second time I will do the straight leg. You are welcome to do both for either, or maybe you want to try progressing it with me as I go. Okay, so we're going back to that 4-point kneeling position to begin, tucking the toes, keeping this neutral spine, and the knees are only going to a low hover. From here, beginning with the right leg, we walk out, then the right leg walks back under. Inhale to lift up, then exhale, pressing through the heel to the long neutral line. Knee pulls to inhale, hinge under, inhaling across, exhale to open the thigh, maybe reach the leg, continuing the energy around to land and hinge into the hip. Pressing through the back foot to pivot the knee around and under, landing so we can sweep those flat top fingertips into our side bend, releasing the fingertips to come back around, landing the right toes back underneath of us, walking the left leg in, walking the left leg back out, to then step back in, so we're ready to go left side. Pressing to the long line, pulling the knee under to hinge, across, square off the hips, opening knee, maybe the foot, continuing to hinge and land. Coming all the way back around, landing thigh under hip. Use the glute to open through the front, but watching the low back. Releasing the fingertips, squaring off that foot. Right leg comes in, and then walks back out and under. Pressing up. And then heel to the long line, hinging the knee under, and inhale into the spiral. Exhale, maybe try to add the full reach of the leg, up and over, landing the hinge into the hip, rebounding to come all the way across, landing the knee, active glute to sweep, stabilizing the neckline, releasing fingertips, releasing the right toes, bringing the left leg in to re-walk out, back under. Inhaling up, exhale to the long line, hinging the knee in, sweeping across, opening, maybe add that reach of the leg, up and over to land, and hinge. Pressing back around, landing the knee underneath, engaging the glute, but protect the low back. Releasing, placing the hand, placing the left toes, walking in to maybe start again. However, for now, as a group, we will walk the legs underneath of us. Take a couple breaths. If you want to drop down into a shell stretch, take that option. Child's pose, if that's what you're more familiar with. Couple breaths where you are. And then you can either roll yourself up to standing. Maybe you do want to lower all the way down. All right. So hopefully that got you nice and fired up. Like I mentioned, please feel free to repeat either the breakdowns or the flow as much as you like, and really go for that full burnout. If you enjoyed this, again, a reminder to like the video. And if you want to experience a full class where we get the whole body going and still sequence it into the flow at the end, then again, my Zoom classes are down below. And I hope I see you again soon. Make sure you're checking me out on Instagram so you can get even more of this content coming your way. All right, have a beautiful day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.